Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This evening, my guest will be Mr. Sylvester Fleming Jr. He's the president of the African-American Caucus for the Mecklenburg County Democratic Party. How you doing there, Mr. Fleming?
Fine, fine. Thanks for having me today, Paul.
Thank you for coming on the show. First of all, tell the audience about Sylvester Fleming.
Well, Sylvester Fleming is like everybody else. I was born out from parents, of course, like everybody else, but I grew up the oldest of five, so I had to learn how to cook at a young age and learn how to look out for brothers and sisters, and that always stayed with me. My grandmother was Avon champion of the world in 1980, so I learned more about selling Skin So Soft and going door to door and making an impact in people's lives before I even really wanted to know about it. I went to North Carolina A&T. I always going to tell that because that taught me from going from a boy to a man, became an engineer, went to DC, stayed there for a while, moved back with my family, and trying to make an impact in my community that I live in, because it's not living in one spot is not anything if you're not making an impact on it. So I'm trying to be a good neighbor, a good part of my community, and a good citizen for Mecklenburg County.
What is the African-American Caucus?
Well, the African-American Caucus is the only auxiliary of the Democratic Party that has a mission to bring up the issues of the African-American people. See, we have a seat at the table. Okay. We have a lot of organizations like the NAACP who are our brothers and sisters because they deal with social issues. Okay. We bring that issue to the table and put it into the democratic process so that we can address it there, so that rules and regulations can act on our behalf.
Okay, what's the purpose of the caucus?
The purpose of the African-American Caucus is threefold, really. First purpose is that we have to identify, educate, and bring up the next generation so that they can be the new leaders of tomorrow in the Democratic Party. So we're building a backlog, per se, so that we can have those individuals who can take office and represent the concerns of the African-American community. Second is to communicate. We're going out and communicating to the individuals that we represent. Right now, the African-American Caucus of Mecklenburg County represents 53% of the voting population of the Democratic Party. That's roughly about 300,000 individuals. We got to be able to communicate with those individuals, let them know what it is that's going on. How is it affecting them in their daily life, and how can they be impactful in that situation? We're giving them a conduit of bringing their concerns to the table so they can be voted on, so that when the bill is put together, it's representing them. And the third part about it is education all over. We're looking at, you got the school board, you have county commission, you have a lot of things that our voting population really don't understand. Not because they don't have the aptitude, but they haven't had anybody to stop and communicate with them and to educate them on how it works. Our job is to make sure that you have proper education, not only for the individuals who can vote, but for our youth. It would have been excellent for the individuals in school to know when they were voting on school board, how's it going to impact them? How's it going to sit with your child? Because those children have to live with that result. So we have an organization that is going to educate, we're going to grow and groom, and we're going to communicate. Those are the things that we're looking forward to doing in Mecklenburg County.
Okay. The African-American population, are we as involved in the political aspect as we need to, especially with the importance that it has on our lives?
I'm going to tell you a sad statistic. In the last election that we had for the primaries, we had roughly around 20% of the individuals voting. That's back to the 80-20 rule. 20% of the individuals made up the decision and voted for 100% of the people. That means 80% of the people went with whatever vote happens is okay with me. We as a community need to be more involved. We're at the point now we're disheartened as an African-American community. Our vote has been taken for granted for so long that we think it doesn't matter. We think it's not going to make a difference if I go get involved or not. There was a race that was won for less than 100 votes. There was another race that was won where the person only had 1,500 votes. 1,500 votes and you win an election when there's over 300,000 African Americans there.
Correct.
We have the power to affect change. We have the power to affect business and finance. The thing about this, we represent 53%, and we're happy for a 10% set aside. I don't know about you, but do the math. If we have 53%, we should at least be comparable in the business that we're taking. That should be around that 50% as well. So as a community, we have to look at change now and start changing, not just for what's coming up in the next year, but for the future altogether.
So, I mean, so how do we do this? I mean, because just like you said, we can make such a big impact, but we continue to see Republicans getting into these positions. And then we have a view after they get into that position when we had a possible way of getting them someone that would benefit us in that position.
The key there is we have to be proactive versus reactive. Unfortunately, our community is very good at being reactive. Something happens and we go up in arms and we're going to talk about what has already happened. Even look at the school board, for instance. We got upset with the calendar this last year when they was taking away Martin Luther King Day.
Correct.
Now, the thing that we have, they voted on that 2 years prior.
Years.
So if we were proactive and we were involved in that decision beforehand, we'd never have to be reactive. The thing that we have to do is first and foremost, get involved. Get off the couch, start complaining about it, do something about it. Call somebody, go to our website if you have to. Contact me, contact anybody in your organizations or organizations out there that's built to make a change and be that change that we're looking for. Right now, the thing that nothing happens more than one individual making one difference. And if we have enough individuals making a difference, then you'll look up and there's a major change. But one person can't do it alone. And no man's an island, which I was always taught. Correct. So if no man's an island, if we all band together, communicate, and start moving together corporately, we can make the change that we're looking for.
Okay, what's the difference between Black Political Caucus and African American Caucus?
I'm glad you asked that question because that's a question that we hear a lot. You know, they say, well, I'm a member of the Black Political Caucus. Why would I need to be involved with the African American Caucus? The fact of the matter is that even though our names are similar, our missions are different. The African American Caucus is the only auxiliary of the Democratic Party. That means we have a seat at the table. When you go to state and you go to any large Democratic meeting, the African American Caucus has a voice at that meeting. Okay. So we're able to vote on issues. We're able to change issues. We're able to put in amendments that we want to have happen. We actually are part of that process. Now, the Black Political Caucus, which I like their organization as well, their thing is they're non-affiliates. That means they can represent somebody for the Republican Party, they can represent somebody for the Democratic Party. Okay. Their job is to go out there and see who they like and endorse. They will endorse the individual that best fits the needs of the Black Political Caucus. Ours is to groom, to educate, and to bring out those individuals and put them in a process so that they can be electable. See, now once we put that person in the process where they can be electable, hopefully they endorse our person. Okay. So, but they cannot bring a person to the table and bring them through the same process that we can.
Okay, what would you consider to be member-wise as far as the African American Caucus? How many people do you think are involved in the caucus?
Well, right now we're looking at, we're roughly sending out on our email blast. Correct. And the technology that we send out roughly about 300 to 500 emails that's going out every time we send out. Now, our goal, I think I like looking at where we want to be versus where we are.
Correct.
Our goal is if we can just represent 10%, and right now we're looking for 1%. 1% of the population that we represent. If we can get 1% of that, that's 3,000 individuals. Name any place that you can take 3,000 individuals, stand together, have a unified voice that you cannot make a change. See, 1% of the population that we represent is powerful enough to make something happen. It's powerful enough to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, we would like to get to that 10%. That's 30,000 people. We have to find another place to meet, maybe the Panther Stadium or somewhere. But with 1% alone, change can happen. The unfortunate part of it, you can even think about it yourself. Ask yourself, are my neighbors involved? You know, a lot of us, we work day to day and nobody's really engaged in the process until it's time to vote.
Correct.
We go, I got to vote today, But what do you know about the vote? It's almost like when you sit down and do your 401k. You wait to the last minute and you ask a friend, which one should I do? And then you push the buttons. It'd be more important and more powerful if you stay in tune with that process. So when it comes time for you to pull that lever, or and I'm going old school, I say pull the lever. But when you hit the button and vote now, you know what you're voting about. You know how it's going to affect you. You know how to communicate with that. And when somebody says, why are you voting for that? You can go down your list, because these are my pros and these are my cons. Right now when we vote, a lot of times if you ask a person, who do you vote for? You ask for the pros and cons. Most of the time they say, because somebody told me or I like them. They don't ever say on the real issues that is going to affect their life. And that's where we need to change.
How can someone join the caucus?
Well, look, you asking some good questions. I like that. The way that someone can really join the caucus, and we made it easier. It used to be you had to be at a meeting and you had to fill out the application. We had to take it there in the process. We don't have a room large enough to put 10% of 300,000 people in. So what we did is you can go to our website. It's www.aacmcdp.org. Now, once you go to that website, you can fill out the form online, pay online, and become a member. You can also print it out and send a check to our P.O. box. Also, you can also come to our meetings, which is every third Tuesday at the Democratic headquarters over on East Moorhead. So the thing about, we have 3 ways that you can join. Also, we're going to have something that's coming up in the park over at Freedom Park, June 9th, which is the the second annual Unity and Juneteenth cookout. Okay. You can join there. We're going to have a lot of our affiliates and a lot of our co-partners going to be there, and we're going to be talking more about what's going on. We're going to have a lot of the elected officials there. We're going to have a lot of people that's trying to get elected there. You're going to have the opportunity to ask questions. You're going to have the opportunity to have your voice heard. And see, that's the one thing that a lot of us don't have. We don't have the ability to express how we need change to happen to the right person.
What was the main vision when they thought about the Unity and Juneteenth event function? Well,
Unity and Juneteenth, I think it happened at the right time. Now, if anybody understands Juneteenth is the time that freedom has already happened. And those individuals were still working in the field, not knowing that they were free. And it took all that time for them to come down and get the word that they're freed. The reason we have the Unity and the Juneteenth cookout together is because we have the power, but we don't know it yet. And it's time for us to know that we're free to make a decision, free to make a difference, free to not worried about the only time that we have the biggest numbers is when we're unemployed. We have our houses foreclosed on. We have more men in jail. We have broken relationships. Now we're free to understand that we have 53% of the voting power in the Democratic Party. So we're free to make those changes. We're free to do things that have not been done before and to be able to make that difference. That's the reason the Juneteenth fits so perfectly with it, because we are a population with power that don't know it yet.
With all the possible voting regulation that the Republicans are trying to get in, why is it so important that we get involved? I mean, because they're trying to make it even harder, but are we making it easy for them by not participating?
By not participating, we are making it easier, because when you look at it, no matter how much money you have, it's still one person, one vote. And if we have the numbers in our favor and we vote because we're educated on what's going on, regardless of how much money you throw at that process, we still have the ability to get information out and vote and be a part of the process. The moment we step out of the process, we allow those who are involved with the process to vote for you. And what we're doing is, like I said, in the last election, we only had 20% of people voting. That's not even the African-American population, which was less.
Correct.
But so with that being the case, if we giving all our power to 20%, and I think the African-American population was around 5 to 10, somewhere in that area, if we giving all that away, of course, they're going to have the advantage. But the moment that we stand up and get involved, then we have to be recognized, and they have to understand there is an African-American agenda. And with that agenda being put in place, regardless of who's running for office or where they are in office, they have to be held accountable for the decisions that they're making.
what was some of the main reasons why you wanted to